Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back with a controversial view of Roseanne. Controversial View is the series in which Jason from Horrific Nightmares and I watch and discuss controversial movies and TV shows. This here, as you can clearly see, is another TV edition of Controversial View. Roseanne originally premiered in 1988 and ran for 9 seasons, finishing up in 1997. The show was then given a revival in 2018, making it the 10th season of Roseanne. Now, throughout its original run from the late 80s until the late 90s, Roseanne was known as one of the most diverse television series on TV. The show promoted inclusion, but unlike those of the modern era, it wasn't jammed down our throats. It was natural and equal and respectful. Roseanne was a show for a diverse audience. Many people loved it, myself included. To this day, it's one of my all-time favorite sitcoms. It truly was ahead of its time when it comes to representation and inclusion. When the show was revived for season 10 in 2018, I was so excited, as I know many others were as well. I was hoping it would at least somewhat live up to the original 9 seasons. And then it premiered, and I was blown away. It felt just like the Roseanne I knew and loved. Season 10 picked up right where the show had left off. It even addressed and fixed things that people didn't like about the 9th season, and especially the finale. At the time, the season 9 finale was the series finale, and a lot of people found it controversial. But season 10, all those years later, found a way to work around it. It was so clever. I thought it was brilliant. Just like I had done back in the 90s, I couldn't wait every week for the new episode of season 10. It was like seeing friends or family that you hadn't seen in years. The representation and inclusion was still there, but again, it wasn't shoved in our faces. It wasn't representation for the sake of representation. It was just natural and realistic. It's a show about life. The revival season was only 9 episodes long, as it was intended. Obviously, like any other series, it wanted to gauge the reaction from the audience. Would people approve? Would people watch? Would people want more? It turns out viewers definitely wanted more, and the plan was to return for season 11. Unfortunately, that's where the controversy comes in. In between the end of season 10 and what would be the beginning of season 11, Roseanne told a joke. Bear in mind, she is a comedian, and that's what comedians do. At the time, however, we were apparently in the midst of peak PC culture. Any off-colored remark would be immediately shunned, and the person making that joke would be blacklisted. Essentially, Roseanne was canceled. No, not her show. Her. The person. The one who created the show. You have to realize Roseanne wasn't just named after Roseanne because she was the main character. These characters were created by her. The show was based on her comedy. Without Roseanne the person, there would be no Roseanne the show. But that didn't stop cancel culture. What would have been season 11 of Roseanne, what should have been season 11 of Roseanne, instead became season 1 of The Conners. In the premiere episode, the audience found out Roseanne had been killed off her own show. The rest of the cast did return, although I know there was hesitance on behalf of some of them. some more than others. Others, however, just fell in line and were against Roseanne because of the joke she made. Again, as a comedian, doing her job. That would be like killing off Jerry on Seinfeld, a show based on him and based on his comedy. I did watch the premiere episode of The Conners, just because I was curious on how they would address it. After that, I never watched it again. I just couldn't do it. It wasn't Roseanne anymore. And it wasn't just that the show had changed, it was the reason why it changed. As a kid, my favorite character on the show was Darlene, played by Sarah Gilbert. Sadly, though, she was apparently the biggest critic of Roseanne after the joke. Imagine growing up with a woman who at one time you say was like a second mother to you, only to turn on her so fast in fear that you may be canceled too. This is what society was like just a handful of years ago. People like Sarah Gilbert just turned their backs on Roseanne, and it actually makes me sick. Even if you don't like the joke she told, or you don't find it funny, it's a joke. It's not meant to be taken seriously. I'll tell you something, though. It really wasn't about the joke. Let's be honest. It was about politics. It's been nearly impossible in the last decade or so to have opposing political views without having a fallen out with somebody. Roseanne has been very open about her political affiliation, and good for her. That's her right. Sarah Gilbert and others have also been very open about their political views, which oppose Roseanne's. The joke, in my opinion, was just an excuse. It's a shame, because with The Conners lasting as many seasons as it has, Roseanne could have been the longest-running live-action sitcom of all time. But instead, they canceled her for doing what she does as a comedian, for telling a joke. To her credit, she doesn't seem all that fazed by it. She took it like a champ, and she's living her best life. I'm glad people have finally seemed to calm down since then. I've definitely seen a shift in the political and societal landscape. We are at least getting closer to getting back to normalcy. I just find it ironic that in a show with a creator like Roseanne that had so much representation, so much inclusion, that in the end, she was punished for not being PC enough. It's scary how deranged people were for a while, and some still are. A joke is a joke. If it offends you, well, that's on you. Should she have really lost her show because of it? For a while after, the original series wasn't even available to stream anywhere, and all reruns were pulled off of network television. Thankfully, it did eventually return. I remember the DVDs being super expensive for a while because it was the only way to watch. That's why physical media matters. I know some fans continued to watch The Conners, but like I said, I didn't. Killing off Roseanne definitely alienated a big chunk of the audience. We were fans from the start, and that let us down. The lack of loyalty on set and behind the scenes was disgusting. I could go on and on about this, but I'd get all fired up. So I'll end it here. By the way, in preparation for these videos, Jason and I went back and watched the entire 10th season over again, since we have already watched the first 9 seasons many times over the years. This was my first time revisiting the revival since it had aired. Man, I wish it had continued. Did you watch the Roseanne revival? And did you continue watching The Conners? More importantly, do you think Roseanne deserved to be canceled from her own show? You know how I feel. How about you? This is just my controversial view. Please be sure to check out Jason's as well. What are your thoughts on the Roseanne controversy? Comment below and let me know. Which controversial movie or TV show will we view next? Check back soon to find out. Until then, remember, physical media matters. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that thumbs up and be kind. Subscribe.